Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin, doctor, your habit coach, and today in the hot seat we have Sandeep. Sandeep says a very small question. He says, my wife is not having interest in physical intimacy, whereas I have it. Now because of this, there are fights. How do we overcome this problem? Now Sandeep, this is a question of the ages. It's been there for so many years and probably from the time of our existence because of something very interesting that has taken place, especially in the way that we look at relationships and that we look at physical intimacy. Now, we did an entire episode on exactly this problem with a specialist, Aili, who is an intimacy coach and a dating coach. And she had a very interesting answer to this problem. To summarize it in this short episode, what's interesting is that your idea of physical intimacy and her idea of physical intimacy are different. Very often what happens is that you expect everyone to like what it is that you like, and they expect everyone to like what they like. But unfortunately, that is not how we see physical intimacy. Also, many a times when we get into a relationship without communication, we do not know what it is that the other person likes. So if I were to tell you that the most intimate thing that you can do with your wife today is to have an open communication, a pathway where you can communicate, talk about your deepest desires, talk about where you come from, talk about where your mindset is, in a most open way, that would be the most intimate thing that you would actually be doing together. Because slowly through that, you might learn where the blocks in these physical intimacy are. Because apart from not enjoying sex or not enjoying the physical intimacy, there might have been trauma in her life in the past. Trauma, either physical trauma, physical abuse that could have happened when she was a child, when she was growing up, or it could be something that is mental. That is something emotional that she's carrying with her that is preventing her from being physically intimate with you. When you open up these communication channels, when you create a safe space where both of y'all can communicate and talk about your deepest, darkest secrets, this is where intimacy is truly born. It is not about sex. It is not about the physical contact. It is actually in this communication. Like I remember doing a video on YouTube years ago on this topic where I said that, did you know, especially for women, the most sensual organ is their brain. That is where you have to spend your time, spend your energy, creating that safe space, creating your communication, working on that before anything else. And like I always say, like foreplay is not what happens 5 minutes before you have sex. Foreplay is what happens 3 days before you think of having sex, right? It is all about that build-up. And communication is an important part of that build-up. So what I would strongly suggest is get into the habit of being comfortable talking about physical intimacy. How would you bring it up? Maybe the first time you bring it up, she shoots you down saying, I don't want to talk about this. Why are we talking about all this nonsense, etc., etc. Don't take it personally. Don't take what she's rejecting you right now as a rejection for life. None of that. Because if you do that, you will be closing yourself and you will just have more fights. Instead, what you have to do is you have to be patient. Slowly keep bringing up the topic. Bring it up in different ways. Don't bring it up when you're already fighting with her about, something to do with the rest of the family or something like that, and then bring it up saying, oh, but you're not even getting physically intimate with me. What is the point of this marriage? Don't do any of that. When you all are having a good moment, when you all are out for dinner, when you all are watching a movie together, when the timing is right, when you've created the safe space, that is when you bring up these topics. It is not about who's right. It is not about who's wrong. It is simply about communicating your wants, your desires, and asking her to be open and sharing hers as well. You might find that there is a overlap somewhere. You might find that she might be thinking of physical intimacy completely differently from you. If this communication obviously does not work, do visit a specialist. Connect with Aili. Connect with a therapist, because that is what they're here for. Finally, there are people who are asexual. That means they have zero interest in anything to do with sex. That is also perfectly fine. You have to be understanding. Maybe you can come up with a different compromise in this particular kind of a situation. So having an open communication, being open, starting it is the best way of dealing with this. In fact, all of us in relationships, married, should have our communication about our intimacy and our physical needs as an important habit that we keep bringing up and talking to our partners about. All right, Sandeep, I hope this helps you out. All right, so if you have a question that you want me to answer and you want to be featured on the next Habit Coach episode, check out the link below, click on it and send me your question. I will try and answer it on the next episode of The Hot Seat. I'm Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach, and remember, awesome lives start with awesome habits. Now, if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am at Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. We have a brand new habit coaching online course, quizzes, videos, and a lot more on the website awesome180.com. So check it out now.